We've seen in many videos where people manhandle other people in the presence of the police, take them from one building to the other in the name of looking for drugs in the presence of the police. And in terms of the law of South Africa, once you handle me like that, if you are not a law enforcement officer, that is manhandling. It can even amount to common assault or even assault itself. We must also never forget that African liberation itself depended on solidarity across borders. South African freedom fighters found refuge in Zambia, Tanzania, Angola, Mozambique, Algeria, Ethiopia, Libya, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria. Mozambique and Angola suffered destabilization and military attacks because they supported the anti-apartheid struggle. Nigeria funded liberation movements across southern Africa. Tanzania became a home for exiled revolutionaries from across the continent, and Algeria trained liberation fighters from anti-colonial movements throughout Africa. No African country liberated itself entirely alone, and that is why Afrophobia is not only morally wrong, it is historically ignorant. It is a betrayal of liberation struggles, a betrayal of Pan-Africanism, and a betrayal of the spirit of 1963 Addis Ababa. Comrades, we must understand something fundamental. In the global system, Africans only truly have one another. Europe will defend European interests. America will defend American interests. China will defend Chinese interests.
Where's your country? Shut up! Hey, shut up! At least we know who the father is. Yes. Where's your country? Shut up! Hey, shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Where is Zimbabwe? Where is South Africa? We will not only will we come to South Africa, we will dominate your own country. Shut up! We will dominate your own country. We will come to your country and we will outperform you. Imagine in your own country, you're being treated like a dog. Fetch doggy! Fetch doggy! Doggy fetch! Doggy! Imagine you're saying to us, Somali people in our country, yes, we're doing business. We're doing business in South Africa. Cry about it. Wah, wah, wah. And we're taking all the good schools from your South African kids. It goes to the Somali children. Yes, you know why it goes to the Somali children? Because we have better economy than you guys in your own country. In your own country. Don't thank you. Oma Santai, speak here. Speak here. Come. South Africans come. Zimbabwe come.
Guys, roses.
South African opposition figure Julius Malema has reignited continental debate after issuing a deeply emotional apology to Africans in response to ongoing protests against illegal foreigners, calling for unity, accountability, and renewed Pan-African solidarity. Malema reflected on South Africa's strained relationship with migrants from other African countries, particularly in context of recurring attacks and tensions linked to unemployment, poverty, and competition over resources. The EFF leader urged Africans across the continent not to judge South Africans as a whole based on actions of violent groups and criminal elements who have been behind protests against illegal foreigners over the years. And said, Africans, you are good people. Find it in your hearts to forgive us. We are sorry, ashamed of ourselves, and we sincerely apologize for this madness. The remarks immediately drew widespread attention, with many interpreting them as one of Malema's most direct acknowledgements of the emotional and political damage caused by March and March protests against illegal foreigners. Malema also situated the current challenges within a broader historical and psychological framework, urging that the legacy of apartheid and colonialism continues to shape attitudes in parts of South African society. According to him, these historical systems did not only impose political and economic inequality, but also embedded damaging perceptions about identity, belonging, and Africa as a whole. He suggested that some South Africans will still carry remnants of what he described as a distorted worldview, one in which Africans from other countries are seen through a lens of inferiority or suspicion, Beyond acknowledging internal challenges, Malema also used his address to highlight Africa's history of solidarity during South Africa's liberation struggle. He reminded audiences that numerous African nations provided critical refuge, political support, and logical assistance to anti-apartheid movements during some of the most dangerous years of white minority rule. Countries including Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Zambia, Angola, Tanzania, Botswana, and Lesotho were cited as key allies that opened their borders to South African freedom fighters when exile was often the only option for survival. He further referenced the sacrifices made by neighboring countries, noting that several of them faced military retaliation and cross-border attacks from apartheid-area South African forces for their support of liberation movements. Despite these risks, they continued to stand in solidarity with those fighting for freedom and said the people of Lesotho were bombed and killed because they protected South Africans fighting apartheid, yet they never turned their backs on us. These historical reflections formed a central pillar of his broader message that South Africa's present-day responsibilities are inseparable from the support it received during its own struggle for liberation. Malema argued that this history should inform how South Africans relate to migrants and workers from across the continent today, especially at a time when xenophobic sentiment has repeatedly erupted into violence. Such incidents have strained South Africa's relations with several African countries, most notably Nigeria and Zimbabwe, triggering protest, public outrage, and calls for stronger government action to protect foreign nationals living within South African borders. In his remarks, Malema also criticized what he described as lingering superiority complexes among some South Africans, suggesting that these attitudes are incompatible with Africa's collective future, and that some among us still think we are better than Africa, but we will soon realize we are nothing without this continent. He emphasized that South Africa's identity is deeply tied to the rest of the continent and warned against isolationist thinking, particularly in a global environment where African nations increasingly depend on cooperation in trade, technology, education, and cultural exchange, and that we have no other home except Africa. If things go wrong here, it is Africans who will receive us again. The speech has since sparked intense debate online, with many across Africa praising the message as a rare moment of political reconciliation, while others view it as a reminder of unresolved tensions that require structural solutions beyond speechless and symbolism. Political analysts suggest the remarks could resonate strongly among young Africans, particularly those who advocate for Pan-African integration and cross-border collaboration in business, innovation, and governance. At the same time, others caution that rhetoric alone may not be enough to address the unemployment, inequality, and social fragmentation in urban and peri-urban communities. Nonetheless, Malema's comments have reopened broader conversations about African unity, historical responsibility, and the need for governments across the continent to strengthen cooperation and addressing shared challenges. As discussions continue to unfold across social and political spaces, the speech has widely interpreted as both an apology and challenge, calling on South Africans to confront difficult realities, while also urging Africans to remember a shared history of solidarity.
Yes, in this instance, Naledi, we had always been talking about the building blocks that we've been putting together as the Border Management Authority, fairly to be able to, have some bit of advanced work in as far as border management is concerned. So one of the structures that we put together is called the National Border Targeting Center. So this is basically the center that operates in the back office within the Border Management Authority environment. And part of what they do is to actually look at the ecosystem around the movement of goods, around the movement of people, but also relating to general cross-border crime issues. So in this instance, as part of the work of the NBTC, as we acronym it, they were able to get some bit of tip-off that there is a truck that is coming down through the north towards South Africa, and of course it came from Malawi through Zimbabwe, and it was on the way to Beitbridge. So on that basis, when it arrived, we had to take it through into a scanning platform or a scanning machine, and on that basis, we're able to pick up the consignment, or I'll say the compartment that was built at the bottom part of the truck. And on that basis, we had to put it aside, Naledi, and out of that, we had to make sure that we do an operation to undo the entire compartment. It took us almost 8 hours to do so and be able to get all of this I would say consignment out, and that is where we were able to activate the Hawks as well as the K9 unit of the police to come and do further work.
Meanwhile, South African border authorities have intercepted one of the country's largest drug consignments in recent memory, seizing approximately 713 kilograms of methacholine, a precursor chemical used in the manufacture of Mandrax at the Beitbridge port of entry in a haul with an estimated street value of nearly 1 billion rand. The Border Management Authority BMA confirmed that border guards stopped a truck traveling from Malawi into South Africa on Tuesday during a routine stop and search operation. What began as a standard cargo scan quickly escalated into an 8-hour physical search of the vehicle, ultimately uncovering 713,000 grams of the controlled substance methacholine, also known as ABBA. The interception was triggered after the truck was passed through a non-intrusive cargo scanner which detected suspicious substances concealed in the load. Officials that conducted an extensive manual inspection of the vehicle, a painstaking process that stretched through the better part of the day before the full scale of the find became apparent. The South African Police Service K9 Unit and the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, better known as the Hawks, were immediately called in to assist with processing the crime scene and to take over the formal investigation. 3 suspects were arrested at the scene and are currently being held at the Musina police station. They are expected to appear before a court shortly on charges of drug trafficking and relating contraventions of South African law. Authorities placed the estimated street value of the consignment at under the 1 billion mark, making it an extraordinary single seizure by any measure. What's your take on this one, people? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more news.